Hey everybody, and welcome back. Right, well, as you can see, we're still on with the GreeBSA. I actually spoke to Steam Shop this morning. He's got the new valve guides in and sorted, and he's having to ream the guides for the valves to take a little bit out. He's mentioned before actually that these valve guides I get, they're kibble white ones, are very hard. The bronze is very hard. They're quite some work to ream. So anyway, he's got to do that and then cut the valve seats in. So fingers crossed he'll get that done by the middle of the week for me, and then I can get the bike ready for the trial next weekend so that my friend Nia can ride it. If not, well, we'll see. So anyway, this is you can't actually see it because you're closed in reasonably only, but it's very messy here because I came out on Sunday for an hour or so and did some bronzing and bits and pieces. So can't think of anything special. You might hear some rain today. It's finally raining after we've had a great September. All September's been dry and sunny. I was out riding yesterday. I rode the modernised Enfield. That's very nice to ride. I maybe shouldn't have put it down as a bike to be sponsored. It's a lot easier to ride than the standard Enfield. I mean, it's £40 lighter, but it's 2.5, 3 inches shorter. It was very good. I was pleased. Anyway, so let me show you what I've been doing. Oh, I've just noticed a piece I didn't bronze, so when I take this off I'll bronze that first, and then I can show you what I've been doing, because I had one thought, so I had to do a little, not exactly modification, but a change of plan. So let me tidy up a bit and then I will show you what's going on. Alright, so let's start with the swinging arm pivot. Now, rightly or wrongly, I decided that I was going to have these plastic bushes running directly on this. Now, I think I had one comment or maybe two about it, but if it had had the silent block in, of course, there would have been a steel bush in there, and then just like with a wheel bearing, we could have loaded that when we tightened this up, so that would press onto the bush would press onto here, or onto a spacing piece, the spacing piece would press onto the frame, duplicate on the other side, so when you tightened the nut up you were just squeezing on this inner bush, this would be able to turn. Well, I didn't do that, and it suddenly struck me that what could happen, because I couldn't really tighten this up, otherwise I would squish on them, and I thought of that was fine, but I suddenly thought, if the spindle isn't clamped in there and it's sort of free to rotate itself, maybe it won't rotate in these bushes and it'll rotate in the mountains. So what I did was I put this on the end. So this is going to go through, it'll be tapped and a bolt put in the other end, but this, as you'll see when I put it on, is going to lock on there, so that won't turn. I've finished the various bronzings. I actually moved this left hand one out a little bit. I was looking at it, and when I was getting the chain line exactly right, it was just a little bit closer to the tyre than I wanted. So let's move around and we will put the swinging arm in. Okay, and also actually, you remember that little bracket there for the, can you see where I'm pointing? Yeah, there was a bracket on there for the rear brake cable. I cut that off because I couldn't get the swinging arm to slide in easily. So now, see, I can put that in like that, and because it doesn't catch on that at the top, it goes in a lot easier. And don't forget, it'll be slightly tighter still when there's a coat of paint on this. So now you see, I've still got to make these two spaces, but I want to make them in a specific design, and I haven't got the diameter of alloy I want. So now, get this to go in the other side. Okay. See, I made this an exact fit. There I go, look, using my hand again. You're all shouting at me. So that's in there. That can't move. It'll be bolted at the other end, so it can't come out. Now I've actually got a couple of 12-inch. I dragged out the 12-inch units rather than the 14-inch ones. Well, you can't see anyway, can you? Hold your chairs. So that I could put these up this way while I was playing around getting the chain line exactly right. So that goes up there, that goes into there. Goes into there like that. Another one here. As I say, I've put them, or did I say, I've put them on upside down because the scrap ones, it won't do any harm to them. But that's the way the rock shocks are, so it gives me a better idea of how wide the rock shock is there. And look at that, we must have got them right because we're not having to mess around. Oh, that bolt doesn't want to go all the way through. Oh, why is that? These aren't very good. Shocks are completely seized up, more or less. They won't even turn. Ooh. There it is. Right, so that's that. So they're in now. I've got all my spacing right now and the chain line is spot on. I fiddled around measuring and measuring while I was out here yesterday as well. Come on now. Let's have both of you in there. You weren't very generous with the flats. Ah, there we go. Or the amount of that there is of flat. Careful here because the nut has a little collar that actually fits into the adjuster. So I'm going to make sure I get it in there. Right, that's on its mark. That's on its mark. Right, let me take you around the back end. Right, so there we are, you can see this is nicely on the centre line. We've got Plenty of space. There's, I moved this out a little bit, this one. Obviously lots and lots of space for the sprocket that side now. Plenty of space for the chain guard and everything. So let me show you the chain line if I can. This is difficult to show because there's such a length and depth of field to try and keep this in focus and that in focus. But that's the piece of channel that actually drops onto them. Oops. In there it should be. And that is now spot on. Everything is spot on, I think. Good enough for a trials bike anyway. Alright, good morning everybody. It's Tuesday. So, I've done a little bit of work without you. Nothing special. I just cut this swinging arm pivot to length and threaded the end of it 7/16 fine, which is actually the same as 7/16 BSC because it's 7/16 20. Well, you can get a 7/16 26 BSC, but their coarser thread is a 20, which, because it's 60 degrees, means it's the same as BSF. Anyway, I'm wandering. So, just had a sign of approaching winter. I got in this morning to the workshop and there'd been propane delivery for me, which was a bit stupid because they should have realised we hadn't been using anything. We've had 80-degree days this September. But anyway, they sort of knock off in the spring when they think nobody's going to be needing it and start when they think people are going to be putting their heating on. So they obviously are expecting it to get cooler. Alright, as I say, I cut this to length. And in case there's any comments, you may have noticed that these holes on either side are slightly oval. Actually, the camera angle made that side look really bad. But I don't know if you remember when I took it all to bits, this took a lot of taking apart and it was slightly twisted. But the important thing is this piece in the centre. That's the main support. These little outrigger supports aren't as important to keeping everything right. But you know I've measured everything, so everything's good. So what I've done is I've made this long enough to just stick out, and then rather just have this, which is 1/8 inch, I made another little piece to go on. I don't know whether to weld that on or not. I might. And then it just sticks out of that. I mean, it's just a few thou, so that when I screw this in, actually, I put an O-ring on that and I've put the wrong size O-ring on, really, haven't I? I was wanting to just put something on the inside of this washer to keep the weather out of the threads because I wasn't taking it up tight. See, what I'm going to do is take it up tight to the pivot rather than squish the mountings. Hang on a second. Alright, so what I really want is an O-ring around that, not around this. So, it's a bit thicker than I wanted it. That's an 1/8 inch O-ring. I wanted a 16th. Or is it? No, that's a 16th one. Anyway, let's screw this in here. Set that O-ring and we're close to. Now you see I can tighten this up. Yeah, O-ring's too tight, see, it's squishing it out. Now that's tight, so it's not going to come out. No, that O-ring's not going to work. I'll maybe find a little fibre washer or something. But anyway, as I say, that is now tight, but it's not squishing up the two side mounts. So that's just nice. Very good, because if we'd squished up the side mounts, of course, we'd have been clamping on the actual swinging arm, which isn't what we want. Okay, I think the next thing we'll look at is the footrests. Okay, just to show you that even though that is tight, we're not crimping up the swinging arm. Okay, so that works perfectly. I've taken the suspension unit off because I want to set this again to 13 inches so I get the mountings for the footrests right. So let me just set this up. Alright, so I've set it as if it's got 13 inch suspension units. Again, there's no we'll start again. Can't remember what I was saying. Oh yes, you remember with the greaves I had to bend the kickstart out a little bit because we mounted those footrests off a plate here, so they were in a little bit but not much. Well, I've just checked with the other couple of BSAs I've got, and from the edge of this cover to the inside of the kickstart lever, in other words to there, basically is 2 inches, right? And if we take this one, which is the right size for this could go out slightly. We've got 1.5 inches at the most. So that means we've got 3.5 inches. I can get a foldy out type kickstart, but 3.5 inches is out to here. Oh, George. Morning. And we'll start yet again. George's wife, who actually is another Linda, keeps baking things for us, so he just brought something over. Alright, so I was saying about how much space we had, 3.5 inches. I might have to get one of those foldy out ones. They do one that doesn't fold out too much, or I might be able to make up, oh yeah, I might be able to make up another one like I did for the 441 and make a new knuckle, a new whatever you would call it, to go on there, to go on the end of the kickstart shaft with a Japanese swivel at the bottom lever. But anyway, we've got 3.5 inches. Oh, this is what we could use. Hang on. So that's a 1/2 inch parallel and a 1, 2, 3 block. So that's 3.5. The edge of this is 3.5 inches from there. So that's roughly where that part of the kickstart would be. Alright. Actually, I just thought of something even better. This is 1.5 inches, isn't it? So if I take that out of there, put that way, which is 2 inches, now we can roughly see. So that'll nicely miss the frame, but we've got to have, see, there's the hanger. I could put that to about, see, I can mount that inwards a bit. That would almost do it. And I've got a set of footrest. Let me put a footrest on a hanger. Okay. So we have our usual comment about which way up this goes. And over the years I've tried it both ways. See, for instance, these aren't a matching pair. I bought these separately to these because Mike didn't have any of the ones that came with their hangers. So as you can see, that doesn't go down. But take that out, turn that the other way, it still doesn't go down. So I don't know. Anyway, oh, now that won't go up that way, so maybe with this one, oh, I know I keep going out of shot, but maybe with this one we need to put it in this way. Because that will go up. So It just struck me, I can't really put that in there because then I wouldn't get the bolt in. I mean, if I put the bolt in this way and I had enough space, I could put a nut on. Depends on where I want it. See, I want it about there. This is more or less level with the two wheel spindles because this is at 13 inches, I think. Actually, it's 13 and 3/4. So how much? Probably out of shot again, but that's giving us 12 3/4. So as I say, we go down 2 inches at the most. We're going to have 10-11 inches of ground clearance, which is pretty nice. Okay, so as I say, we want them below that and back. So we assume that's the size of a nut. Oops. I don't want them too far back. So I put that in with a nut. Get a nut on there. So if I had that about there, that would clear easily. Of course, what I could do is weld a nut on that, and then I'm not trying to fit a nut in there. Let me go and make a couple of measurements, see how let me see where I put them on the greaves, because the greaves feels very nice. See how far down and how far back I put them. So on the greaves, I've made some marks here from the centre of that. We're about 1.5 inches down and 1 inch back for the nut. So the nut would be about there. Put that. Yeah, we can basically put that there. So we're not going to make it up off these because there isn't the, on this frame, the footrest plate was mounted here the same with the through bolt as it is on the greaves, but instead of going to a mounting point just behind here, it actually has a piece of tube on that goes all the way down and bolts. Actually, I think it bolts down here. So we are going to weld a plate on with a little bit of stiffening. And we'll have to look at the other side to see about the brake pedal. I think we could probably use, because these footrests aren't all that much different. Greaves actually did a good job of where they put the footrests. Certainly on the standard bike, I was within about 1/2 inch of where Greaves had put them. I think I put them very slightly further back, but that's all. In fact, let me find the Greaves one. Now this is the Greaves one for this side. See, it went down onto there and onto there. So it actually went a little bit lower. You know, that's almost, see, there's where I'm talking about having that one. And if that was in that hole, it's almost where Greaves put them. Pretty good for in the 60s. Okay, so I've got to make up a couple of pieces of plate, one for each side, to go there and get these hangers welded to. Just can't weld it flat on the back of that plate. It's got to be out a little bit. That's almost exactly the right angle. Look at that. If I put that flat against that, that's horizontal. Wonder if that's accidental. Must be. Pure coincidence. So that wants to go on there, like that. Actually wants to come back a little bit because the nut wants to be there. You know, I could almost just put it there. Okay, let me think about this a bit more. No, that's not going to work, is it? Because I'm forgetting something. Forgetting how high it is. I mean, you know, great, it's there, but we actually want the footrest down level with the line of the wheel spindles. So we actually want this down here. Ooh. We want that right down there. I really got to think about this. A lot of talking and thinking this week, isn't there? Okay. I've got a piece down the back there. So that is level with if we had plate mounted on the back of the tube. And then this is set up so that that would be level. And I've moved those blocks over there so it'd be more where this actually is. Now that misses everything. The question is, how do we make a rigid mount, or one that won't bend all the way down there? Because there's nothing behind it. Did think maybe put a cross piece over, but then it's probably going to foul the chain. So it's going to have to come down or stick out from there round to there. I suppose actually if it's got a curve, well, a curve, bend in it to follow this, that curve would mean that it couldn't bend. You know, if it was just flat down there and we put our weight on it, it would bend in without a doubt, had that happened. But if as it came down, there was that side of it that went at an angle to it, that would give it a lot of structural strength. Might be a bit of a bugger to make, but I think that's what we're going to have to do. Because I don't want, if any of you have ever ridden or even know of the Majesty Yamaha, very much a, I guess was it a 70s bike, when ground clearance was everything. We've talked about this in the past. And the footrests are right up here. It feels really weird to ride. I mean, I have a friend called Mark who rides his, like, you know, and obviously Mick Andrews was involved in designing it. But you definitely feel as if you're up there, you know, tottering around, or at least I do. Whereas, for instance, on the Enfields where the footrests are low down, you really feel centered. Let me make up a cardboard template to do just that, to come down flat here so this will weld to it, but then to curve round that way. I think that would probably be strong enough. Make it out to say 3/16. Yeah. Here's what the piece of plate would look like. See, it's flat here for that thing to go onto, and then it curves round. It'll be bronzed on the back of the frame there. Or do I go a la Greaves? I could drill this, tap this end, put it on there to come down. I think I've got enough space outside of the tube. Yeah. Down here to that, and then have a piece of something that just goes, because don't forget this bottom thing comes off. I could bronze it to that a la Greaves. I think I'm going to have to go and have something to eat to charge up my old brain cells to think about this a bit more. Definitely. See you later. Alright then. A lot of thinking, bits of paper, stuff like that. This is what I have come up with for this side anyway. So that, and this has to be welded on, not bronzed. I think that is going to go on there like that. And then that will go on there like that. It's a long way out, isn't it? Vertical. It's a little bit to that side. Is that the right way? 1, 2, yeah. Oh man. Needs to go in more. Got to fold that corner out a little bit. Let me go and do that. Well, that I think is about it. So let me put a couple of tack welds on it and see how it looks then. So there it is with a couple of tacks holding everything on. That just clears. Actually, it clears better if that doesn't go all the way back, but this we can adjust that. I could put a little piece in the back here as well. I think once I've got it tacked with weld now. I don't know whether to weld it or bronze it, because the big thing is, you see, this is 3/16. This is only about 16th inch wall, and bronzing that would be a lot easier to do than getting this to melt right and not overly melting that, weakening everything there. But anyway, it's just the right amount behind that. Did I tell you I sort of measured this pivot point is about 2 inches higher on this bike than on any of the others. That's why this is so far down, to keep it from being too higher footrest position. See, that's 14 and a bit, and that gives me about right to up there, 16 inches with a saddle on 17 inches, because my whatever that is 19 inches. From there to where my knee is would be up here, so that gives me plenty of movement, you see. If this was right down here, my knee was there, then I wouldn't be able to move as much. I'm half thinking this is going to be my bike. Should be a reasonable weight, it's going to be nimble. If I get this 350 engine to run nice and softly, it'll be just what I like. Anyway, that's enough for the day. That's slightly back a little bit. I can just tap that out. Can I tap it out without breaking the tacks? Actually, that would be a thing to gas bronze, because I could put a lot of bronze in and make a really big fillet. Anyway, and is that level that way is on? Yeah, more or less. That's going to do for the day. All that thinking's worn me out. Alright, see you later on. Good morning, everybody. Alright, there's the back side of that welded up. I could do that. It suddenly struck me I could get at that just taking the wheel and the swinging arm out. So I've done that. We can do the front side when everything's dismantled and I can lay the frame on its side. So let me put this back together and have a look at the drive side footrest. Right, around the other side, and I've put you at what might seem a strange angle to look at this, because I have just spotted something, and that is it isn't much, with a chain on touching the frame. See, that sprocket's bigger than on the greaves. Would the chain tensioner take that? And don't forget, this is without any weight on. As soon as all the engine and everything is in there, that is effectively going to go up. See, we're only, well, 3/4 of an inch maybe. I haven't got a ruler. About, yeah, it's only 3/4 of an inch. And actually that, let's get his chain out. Don't like having to mess around with new chains. The stuff they put on them is really sticky. So anyway, put one on. I just look down the chain line. It's absolutely spot on. That's just with it tight. And it barely touches there. So once this goes up, I think that'll be fine. It is, mind you, touching on the top here. But again, that'll go up. That should be fine. And I can always put a rubbing block on the swinging arm there to keep it right. So that's okay. I thought we were going to have to start cutting this out and making it come down, but I don't think so. Nah, don't think so. Alright, so let me find an outer chain case just to pop on there to see where everything goes. There's the pivot point for the brake pedal. The footrest is going to be back here. Yeah, I'd probably use that. Probably. Because don't forget, it's going to be cable. We're going to redo this thing here. It's just there. Get that put back up there, or make a new one, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Alright, well I didn't really show you how I did this on the other one, did I? So, as usual, we start off with a piece of cardboard. Down under there. Mark the curve of this tube onto it and cut it just with a fold there. That's going to be the flat piece where that goes. Then transfer it to a piece of 3/16 steel. This is 4130 actually. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some lines on here. Like that. I'll do a few more, and they're going to be my bend lines. Put it on the wrong side anyway. Wants to be on this side because I want to be able to see it when I put it in the press. Oh, this is a bit of a... So there's the first one, and then as I say, I'll do some more parallel to that, and then I can bend it on those lines, and that gives it the curve. Right, so let me go and put some more lines on and start bending this. Did I tell you this? I've got the bike vertical, I've got this set so it's just touching the other side. So I know that when I'm on here, which is why I haven't done anything with the bottom, I'm at the right height. So you offer that there, and you can see which bends you need to do because it's marked up on that side. So you offer it up, and you can see that's like that. So that's going to need to be bent a lot more that way. That part is almost straight. It's only the first 2 or 3 lines that actually get a bend on them. So let me bend this in a good bit more, and then we'll try it out again. Right, I've got it held in place with a couple of welding magnets. So I've measured from the centre of the wheel spindle on the other side to how far forward it goes, 15 3/4. And I've measured up from there on the other side to how high it goes, and that is to this, the highest corner. Right, so the next thing to do is to just put that on, get that level. Oops. Can mark that like that. And now I know where that's going to go. Like that, so I can start to shape this the same as I did on the other side. And I'll tell you what, I love that plasma cutter. As quickly as I draw this, I can cut it. I just switch it. When I've drawn this, I'll switch the plasma cutter on and I'll go, and I've cut a piece of 5/16 steel and 5/16 4140 or whatever it is. You know, I mean, the thing is just gorgeous. And the same with this. I'll mark this in a curve, bang, press the trigger and just go like that, and it'll be done. And then just dress it up, and there's how good a cut you can get when you go at the right speed. If you go slowly, it tends to be lumpy. So if you've got a straight bit to do, use a straight edge, so you can just put it on and go zzzt. Really love it. Alright, let me go on over the other side so I can see how this looks and mark it up. Alright, so what I've done, I'll just show you this thing as I'm showing you all the stages. I put a piece of cardboard on the back of that plate and traced round it to get the shape. And then that goes on there, see, like that at the bottom. Now I can mark it up. That's how that goes on there. So let me go and cut this. Right then, so there's both footrests put on. Let's see what we've got here. And there, to the centre of the wheel spindle, 14 5/8. Excuse me. There, 14 5/8. 14 1/4. They might be slightly out because I think they're at a slightly different angle. And that's 14 3/8. I can get those to be level. Alright, so I'll take the wheel and the swinging arm out and I'll weld up the back of that where I can get at it. And then I'll be getting it down. Right, now this is the end of this week's video, because while I was out at lunch today with Steam Shop, he'd done the Triumph head. So today's Wednesday. Tomorrow I'll get this down, I'll pop the Triumph up there and we'll, the Auto Triumph that is, and we'll get that finished. Alright, so it's raining. Let's say I got a trial this weekend, so you'll have got this on Saturday. We'll see what's what. Okay, until I see you again, stay safe and enjoy yourselves.